Hi guys, so today we're going to talk about the dilemma of using regular old glass jars for canning, and can you just use a random glass jar in your canner, and how do you do that and all that stuff. So first of all, let's talk about jars. Can you use a regular glass jar in a canner? Of course you can. But should you is the question, right? So I consulted the Complete Guide to Home Canning. It does talk about this, and it says foods may be canned in glass jars or metal containers, and it goes on to say that most commercial pint and quart size mayonnaise or salad dressing jars may be used with new two-piece lids for canning acid foods. So this is the two-piece lid setup, right? It's the ring with the top, and that's the two-piece lid. This is a one-piece. This is a one-piece. They do sell one-pieces that screw on that do have a coated seal inside, so you still can find those, and I think those are safe to use if you can find one that fits. These are the lids that came with these jars. So as you can see here, they say mayonnaise and salad dressing. And we are talking today about those types of jars, but moreover, everybody wants to know about the Classico jar. Where is it? Here's one. Classico pasta sauce came in that, right? And then there's the knockoff Classico that doesn't say Atlas Mason. It's just got lines on it, so it's like Fred Meyer brand or whatever, and it comes with a regular lid. Can you use those? Well, you can. But there's a couple things to watch out for. I was so confused by this and with so many people giving me so many different answers that I actually called Classico. I couldn't find any information on their webpage, so I called and I talked to them. So they told me, number one, that their lid or their jars are only made to be canned in once, and not canned in over time and again. And of course, their one-time canning is their commercial canning. But of course, you know, they're going to say that, right? Because they don't want you buying their sauce and then using their jars to make your own, whatever. But what they did tell me is that there is a coating that they put on the outside of these jars that make it resistant to breakage. And so it can go, you know, through the assembly line and people can stock it on the shelves, etc. And if that coating gets scratched, then you can get breakage. So I thought, well, that's interesting. So why does this say Atlas and Mason, specifically Mason or Atlas? Because, you know, back in the day, this is an old Atlas canning jar. See that? This one is actually from about 1920. Can you see the little holes in there from being hand blown? This is a newer one from about the 40s. The exact same jar, but it's just not quite as thick. Anyway, interesting. I have so many jars, I get the weird or the unusual ones. All right, so why does it say Atlas Mason? This is purely a marketing technique. Atlas hasn't made jars since about the 60s, and like I said, you can find old ones, but they don't create them anymore. So this is to make you reminisce and think, oh, my grandma made this sauce, it must be great, I'll go ahead and buy it. So this is just total BS, marketing BS. So it's not a true canning mason jar. And you can, one of the ways you can tell is by looking for the Atlas mark on the bottom, and it's not there where you can see it. I don't know if you can see that right there on this jar, and of course it's on the other jar. So though that is, well, that's two reasons. There's actually a third. So two reasons. Number one, it's made to be used once. Number two, it's got that special coating, and if it scratches, it possibly could break. And actually, I'm noticing flaws in this jar as I'm looking at it. There's an indentation right there that could crack. The third thing, and thing that almost nobody talks about, is the top. These are rounded. The edges are rounded off. If you pull out a regular canning jar and feel it, it's flat. It's flat, so when you put your top on, it sticks to it, right? And you put the ring on and it creates a seal. These are rounded, and because they're rounded, less of that jar top is going to attach to here. And I think that's one reason why they use these. They're thinner. Let's see. The tops are thinner in general, right? So there's less just to even screw on. This part right here where the screws are, there's just less there. Let me show you an example. I've got this mason. I actually had a hard time finding lids that my two-piece could fit on. These are all, this is a small regular size, and none of that's a real jar, but that wouldn't fit here. It wouldn't fit on here. It won't fit on here on this Prego one. But it did fit on this jar, but look how tiny that is. So you can see I've got way more room to screw this on than there is lip there. So when you screw it on, you can barely like do that and it's on. And I can yank that right off. Whereas if I put one of these on, it fits. And it actually came with kind of one of these tops on it, so it's skinnier. So it doesn't get enough grip. Anyway, they're rounded, so there's less to stick to the sealant. But that said, the feds say it's okay to use mayonnaise in salad dressing jars as in high acid food, so that means water bathing or steam canning. And I say go ahead. You know, if you feel like you want to do that, go ahead. You can see where that coating has been marked on this. You might get some breakage, but a lot of people say, hey, my jars never break. So if your jars don't break, I mean, let's see, what's the downside? The downside is you put one of these in your water bath canner and the jar breaks and you get food all over your stuff. Big deal. The other downside could be that it loses the seal, but then you'd know that because you take the ring off. But again, that's if you can get one to fit these. I would not recommend reusing the original lid it came with, but you know, if we were in hard times, would I do it? That's a conversation for a different day. So those are the reasons why they're meant to be used once. They've got the special coating on the outside. If it gets scratched or nicked or bumped, more chance of breakage. And the top is rounded. It is not flat. And it's really easy to tell between a regular flat top and these rounded tops. So yeah, you can totally try to do it if you want to. I think it would be okay. Would I pressure can in them? I'd be hard pressed to want a pressure can in any of these. But again, what's the downside? The downside is it shatters and it damages all the other jars inside. I mean, it's not going to blow up. It's not going to poison the food unless it loses its seal, but you should find that out pretty quickly. So can you? Yes. Should you? That's up to you. But those are the reasons why. So let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to answer them. I'm by no means an expert, but I did call and talk to the Classico folks. And of course, I looked it up online, and there's a lot of information, some bad information out there, and almost nobody, like I said, talks about the rounding of the top. But, you know, you decide what works best for you. And what are you going to do? Do you do it? Have you had a problem with it? Has it ever cracked and damaged your canner or anything inside your canner? I don't know. I'd be interested to know what your experience is. So that's all for today. And I'll do some more videos on canning jars themselves. There's some information out there that people don't really talk about that we should all know, like some types of Atlas jars are not meant to be canned in. Actually, the real canning jars only made for dry storage, how to see if you can freeze in a jar, all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that in the future. But for now, I think they're okay for water bath canning if you can find a two-piece that fits. And yeah, just be careful. Thanks for watching.